As of March 31st, Airbnb and other online booking platforms will require all listed hosts to have a verified NIB number. Hi there, welcome to the Bali Business Review. I'm Jing, your host on this delightful YouTube channel. And recently I was in California exploring the, forefront of the AI industry, taking trips over to Google, visiting the Meta headquarters, hanging out with some friends that have taken careers in the industry, and also getting a good sense of where AI is possibly leading us into the future. I had a fortunate layover, an extended layover in Tokyo as well, where I brought my daughter around to visit the capital of Japan in Tokyo, exploring some of the different neighborhoods as ourselves guests in other people's Airbnbs. So today, after having arrived in Bali, I'm somewhat surprised to find that in addition to it generally being quite quiet around the area after having seen some of the traffic patterns and explored the streets. And I'm afraid to announce that in addition to the very unpleasant news of the price war and the market failure condition, we now have a new collective obstacle as those who are active in the short-term rental industry. As of March 31st, Airbnb and other online booking platforms will require all listed hosts to have a verified NIB number. This is a business identification number that is mandatory in order to continue listing and doing business on the platform. You can check yourself on the details here on the Airbnb homepage, where this new initiative is titled Hosting Responsibly in Indonesia, which once again brings us to an inevitable conclusion that perhaps the only way out of this is to lean hard through it and get through this mess before it can get any better. Now, Bali will always preserve its particular draw and allure as a world-class tropical holiday destination, and therefore it will always also attract investors who want a piece of paradise. But from those that have been looking at, let's say, the investment angle of buying a piece of paradise, whether through leasehold or freehold, this presents a new perspective for what could be short-term loss and long-term gain. Let's answer a few questions from the onset. Number one, does the Indonesian government act in the best interest of a long-term sustainable future? I would have to say, having spent the last 20 years here, the last 2 years have been quite transformative in the sense that we've seen strong modernization attempts of the government to reduce bureaucracy and friction. It has never been easier to get a residency permit, to get a customs form filled out, to pass through immigration, to renew a driver's license without having to pay kickbacks and bribes to all these, let's say, agents that interrupt the process. There can be a strong one-on-one relationship now between the citizen and their government through better systems. We have seen strong investments in infrastructure and commitment from local and regional governments. The president has even ordered the army onto the beaches of Bali in almost a pseudo-national emergency attempt to preserve income coming in from tourism by showing the importance of the ability to present a clean tourism destination to political leaders here. Who does this particular law affect negatively the most? The most impacted party from this law will of course be the local Balinese landowner. The local Balinese landowner for the past, let's say, 2 decades has benefited greatly from being able to sell and lease property to whomever is a foreign direct investor without having to pay too much regard or tax to the central government, which has also resulted in, let's say, the under management of infrastructure, of waste, and of all the different, let's say, basic necessities. The shift has actually occurred from power being centralized in hotels and in large capital establishments to the free distribution of a more democratic hospitality economy based on online platforms. Online platforms like Instagram, like Facebook, like Google Maps, like Airbnb, like Traveloka, like Booking.com, essentially level the playing field in many ways. And it could be a gradual, better decision to limit the unregulated entrepreneurship that we've seen in order to create a more sustainable and harmonious macroeconomy. Yes, traffic does affect everybody. Waste does affect everybody. And we do believe that now that most Balinese landlords who have tasted entrepreneurship have been able to transact and deal directly with foreign investors in a growing economy, this is probably a good time to think about how to think more generationally, comply with government laws that respect the overall harmony of the Indonesian people with the Balinese people and also with the future foreign tourists and investors that will come and want to participate in this economy in a fair and transparent way. Now, a leasehold property by its very nature is a way to leverage time. You're buying wholesale time and retailing the time at a higher price. Well, now if you do not have a business identification number, this could complicate the means of actually extracting value from these particular properties that are unable to list on short-term platforms. My prediction is that there is going to be enormous deals in long-term rentals as, let's say, property owners who have bought properties are unable to gain value of it short-term and might start making fire sale deals to actually get their properties leased out to tenants long-term for 6 months, a year, and so on and so forth. So you can probably pay attention to some of these deals emerging in the next 6 months to a year. The other implication for this particular requirement could be that the price war and the market failure that we have been seeing over the beginning of this year might have a long-term solution, even if it causes immense short-term pain. The price war that you see currently includes the rampant oversupply of many legal and illegal properties. But let's say if we're able to reduce the supply by removing properties that do not have proper certification and are unwilling to commit to legal compliance, that could greatly reduce the set of properties and also reduce the competition that is driving prices downward. This overall to the compliant owners and hosts is good news. A smaller supply, reduce competitive pressure, and also allow for long-term gains. So that's potential number one. Potential number two is this regulation could be the beginning of where accurate valuations can be understood through a discounted cash flow analysis of the property acting as a business. What do I mean by that? Due to the market failure effect spoken about in previous episodes and previous episodes and previous episodes, which leads us to the final and perhaps most reliable long-term method of valuation, which is a discounted cash flow as a business. The possibility is that in the future, Bali properties will be measured by business performance, by how much income they are actually producing and verifiable through tax receipts. Such a requirement or such an expectation can be a future metric of truth that buyers will seek and understand before committing to purchase a property. So this regulation, of course, is something I remember when I was working at Airbnb was something that was discussed as a means of producing taxable income to the Indonesian government, and this was 13 years ago in 2013. Finally, I guess this day has come when there seems to be agreement between the platform and also the government. So this is my message to the marketplace in whole. Regulation is, as our previous speaker, Adiguna, has mentioned, it is not a bad thing. Regulation does depend on a trustful, healthy relationship between the populace and those that are in positions of political administration. We urge that the particular business people who are involved in the economy cooperate and also make decisions to comply with laws, but also to think about how to evolve laws over time through the democratic process. We hope that this message will be of inspiration and delight and change. This is Jing again with the Bali Business Review. And if you like what you see, if you have an opinion, please feel to comment below. We always want to make sure our facts are correct. We always want to also make sure our opinions are meaningful, substantial, and serve the best interest of a growing audience of investors that have the best interest of Bali's long-term sustainability in their hearts. All right.
See the bookings, fill the calendar. Every night a different dollar sign. From the sold nights, watch the money flow into the revenue pot where the good times grow. Got the tax certificate, keeping it all clean. Deduct the PAX fees, building up the dream. Future cash flows, chart is looking bright.
DCF valuation shining with all its might. Yeah, it's all about that valuation. The key to your Bali paradise foundation.
Building your Bali dream!
Your Bali dream!